AMD made an amazing acquisition today, and we're going to take a closer look at it in today's episode. But I believe this acquisition makes it a little bit closer against its competitor, NVIDIA. We can see the overall market was pretty good. AMD was up roughly 4.5%, but I don't necessarily think it's because of the acquisition, as we can also see NVIDIA was up roughly 4.3%, and even some of the other semiconductor companies like Intel were up 3.1%. So I'm not sure if the market is really seeing the bigger picture of this acquisition from AMD, but hopefully I can share a lot of insight in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so let's just jump into it. Today on August 19th, 2024, AMD is significantly expanding its data center AI system capabilities with the acquisition of Hyperscale solution provider CT Systems. And we're going to take a closer look at what that means, but let's just learn a little bit about CT Systems. So CT Systems seems to be a company that helps build infrastructure solutions for data centers. They have a mixture of engineers, of manufacturing team, and we're going to explain a little bit in a bit how this correlates really good with AMD and everything they have done. AMD in the past has made a lot of acquisitions to help boost its AI solutions, mainly in the software side. Historically also made kind of acquisitions in the hardware side with Pensando, but I am a firm believer after looking at the transcript from this acquisition, where management discussed why they did it, that this is one of the biggest and best acquisitions AMD has made in a very, very long time. And while it might not showcase this year or maybe even next year, I think in the long term, this is a very, very smart move by Lisa Su. And I think this is what's going to be able to... In the past, if you guys have heard me, I've always been against the case that AMD is not a $1 trillion company. I think this makes it the possibility that within the next 5 to 10 years, right in the future, I'm not saying it's going to happen right away, but I believe this acquisition opens up the potential of this being a $1 trillion company in the future. So AMD had a presentation and a call with investors and analysts, and the first thing that kind of got pretty excited was they confirmed this $400 billion plus AI accelerator total addressable market, which is expected to grow at a 70% compounded annual growth rate between 2023 to 2027. Now, this is very bullish, obviously, for AMD, but for my number one position, NVIDIA, this makes me even more bullish, as right now NVIDIA is going to continue to hold the market share in this space. And this acquisition, while I believe will be a big asset in the future, I don't think this is something NVIDIA investors should worry about right now. And this AI market, if it's expected to grow at these crazy levels, I believe that there could be multiple winners. And no one's going to be a winner like NVIDIA, at least in the foreseeable future. But there's enough for everybody to get some kind of growth, and I think AMD will definitely benefit from it. Now, throughout this overall call, they did kind of talk a little bit of why they needed to do this acquisition. So when we're taking a closer look at the AI market right now is seeing most of its growth in the data center space. And in the data center space, what do you need? You need multiple racks. You need these huge clusters of AI solutions. And AMD already did a nice amount. First, they kind of did the silicon solution, which they create their AMD CPU, their Instinct GPUs, and they have their Pensando DPUs, and they have kind of their own connectivity with the Infinity Fabric, I believe they call it. Outside of that, they also help their ODMs and OEMs create kind of these servers. Now, the difficult part is getting those servers to make racks and then making those racks to multiple super clusters and having all the connectivity, thermal issues, and everything solved, right? So going from here to here is something AMD does, and it's pretty, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's definitely beneficial for all these customers of AI chips. But this is also very important, and this is where Lisa Su believes CT can help. So CT engineers will provide us with crucial insight that will enable us to fully align our silicon and software roadmaps with the evolving needs of cluster scale systems and hyperscale data center operations. The CT service enablement engineers will also speed the deployment and provision of AI clusters, enabling AMD customers to bring AI solutions into productions significantly faster. And that's very important because right now we are in this market where NVIDIA, AMD are releasing data center GPUs on an annual basis. And if you're releasing on an annual basis, you need to be able to get that product into a rack, into a data center very quickly. Because if you're waiting if you're waiting a quarter or 2 quarters before you can go from your chip to your data center, those companies can just wait another 2 quarters and either go with your next chip or with your competitor's chip instead, because you're taking too long to go to the final product. So this is what AMD believes this can benefit dramatically as, hey, look, they can go from server to rack to data center a lot faster. And this is going to create an incentive for customers to say, hey, look, you guys can build these data centers pretty quickly. So let's go out there and purchase a nice amount of chips from you. And that is why I believe this would be a huge benefactor for AMD. The other thing is AMD, we're going to see in a bit, is working on really doing some form of connectivity for very, very large clusters. And the engineering team here is going to help out a lot. They mentioned that right now, AI systems are getting more and more complex as these clusters are getting bigger. And it's going to help ensure that our solutions and our architecture are much more optimized on day one. We are very focused on our largest cloud customers who will benefit from this design capabilities. So this is another thing, right? AMD, when it comes to their GPU solutions, not every cloud server provider takes them, right? I think the only ones that are really out there are Meta, Microsoft, and Oracle. But there's plenty of huge cloud server providers. Amazon, for example, doesn't offer the MI300. And with things like this, they can definitely go to Amazon now and be like, hey, look, we're going to be able to build huge data centers really quickly. We're going to have these optimizations on our AI chips. Definitely give us orders for your potential data center. So this is why I believe this can really explode AMD's revenue in the long term of things. Now, obviously building something like this doesn't happen overnight, but now we have that roadmap where AMD can actually be a huge competitor in the AI GPU space. Now, if we take a closer look at the next slide, we're going to learn a little bit more of what AMD and this CT Systems acquisition means. But first, if you want to learn more about the semiconductor market, I do have 2 ebooks that you should check out at moresemiinvesting.com. The first is a handbook of 50 plus semiconductor companies out right now, and it's kind of like an encyclopedia. The second is an earnings insight handbook of the current quarter. So companies that have reported earnings this quarter in the semiconductor company, I'm most likely following them and have created an amazing insight for it. Right now we have over 40 companies with more being added each week. Remember, NVIDIA is coming out August 28th, so after that releases, we will be updating the book. The great thing is both these are living documents, so if you purchase now, you will get the updated versions for free. So check out moresemiinvesting.com. Now, kind of jumping back here to AMD and this acquisition of CT Systems, the biggest reason they are making this acquisition is the talent. They're getting their engineering team pretty much. So their engineering team helps with things like design architecture, thermal, liquid cooling, which is very important nowadays, networking solution, the power solution, scale test, product validation, right? So they're trying to do everything to get to the market a lot faster. And like I mentioned, as they go into this annual cadence with the MI350, with the MI400, where it becomes very complex systems, things like this are going to help them grab more customers and get to the market a lot faster. AMD actually wants to sell off the manufacturing side of this business. So the manufacturing side of this business, which is kind of creating these data center solutions, is about a $10 billion annual run rate. So it's pretty impressive that they were able to buy this company for $5 billion with the revenue of roughly $10 billion annually, and probably growing at very, very crazy levels. Now, the reason they're selling the manufacturing side is, one, they don't want to compete against their partnerships like Dell, like Supermicro, and all those other OEMs and ODMs. So they're pretty much just looking for the engineering team to help them design these racks a bit faster and be able to kind of give those designs to those huge cloud server providers or to their OEM and ODM partners. Because remember, all these big cloud server providers like Microsoft, like Amazon, they kind of have their own solutions, and they want to build it to market a lot faster, so AMD's engineering team can help their partners, those cloud server providers, build their systems a lot faster. So AMD is looking for someone to purchase off their data center infrastructure business. I think they're actually going to sell it for a nice price. Now, I'm gonna guess to the assumption right now that one potential customer could be Supermicro that ends up buying this segment, because right now the U.S. data center infrastructure manufacturing business has a nice scale, and it has a nice scale business here in the United States and the European market. So these are markets that Supermicro is really trying to expand, both manufacturing, and we know that they're trying to expand their manufacturing side, especially for AI servers, which we can see that CT is really good at. So I'm gonna guess that there's a huge probability that the acquisition goes with Supermicro of this. And if I'm right, definitely let me know in the future. Hey, Jose, you called it. Now, if we look at the finance of the sale, actually we are going to discuss it. It's $4.9 billion, 75% of cash, 25% of AMD common stock, and they plan to finance that transaction with cash available on their balance sheet and additional debt financing. Now, again, they mentioned that they believe this is going to be a very attractive asset, as it is doing more than $10 billion in revenue, and they have a nice footprint in Europe and United States. They expect the transaction to close in the first half of 2025, subject to regulatory approvals and other customary closing conditions. So I think it is very important for them saying that they want to sell the manufacturing business, because that, in my opinion, is going to give this acquisition a better chance of approval. I think if they didn't sell off or have plans to sell off that manufacturing business, they might have gotten some pushbacks from regulators, as we know CT System also works with the competitors like NVIDIA, like Intel, and kind of creating all these AI servers. So some people might call it as AMD just trying to hog up market share. At the same time, there's plenty of AI server makers out there that it wouldn't be considered like a monopoly or a duopoly, or it's not like AMD will be taking all the market for themselves. There's a lot of players here. So in forms of regulatory issues, I wouldn't think there's many, if any, that we're going to see with this acquisition. Now, the final thing I want to mention is I think this is going to be a huge asset for AMD in the long term of things. And I've been a big time investor of AMD. AMD was one that I entered when they were just starting off releasing their AMD EPYC, which was their first generation of their server CPUs. And I've been in AMD since the single digits. And I was pretty excited because I did see that Lisa Su had a great plan on how to evolve and enter in the CPU server space. Now, when they came out with the AMD Instinct, and even most recently with the MI300, with the MI350, I definitely saw it as an opportunity for them, but I didn't see it go in that same trajectory as the CPU space, where I did believe that they were going to grow market in here. I didn't think it was going to be in the same way as they did with the CPU space. Now, with everything that they're doing, right, they're working with other companies to create these networking solutions like Ultra Ethernet, like UA Link, which is Ultra Accelerator Link, and this is going to help combat NVIDIA's NVLink and NVIDIA's Infinite Band. So I think AMD is doing really well. Then they are also increasing their ROCm software, and now with this, they're increasing their cluster level system designs. So I think AMD now has that perfect plan to be able to grow their GPU sales at very fast levels. Again, this is kind of a long-term plan where we're not going to see the results this year, maybe not even next year, but this definitely creates the perfect road for AMD to advance in the future. So I think AMD now at these levels, I mentioned it, at $150 or below, AMD looks pretty attractive. I think with this acquisition, if this does go through, it opens up the probability of AMD becoming a $1 trillion company in the future. Not right away, but it definitely increases that probability. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. This made me a lot more bullish on AMD, a company that I wouldn't say I was getting bearish on, but I was losing a little bit of the excitement because of how much growth NVIDIA was doing. I think this acquisition has re-sparked the excitement for AMD. And I think investors are going to be very, very happy in the next few years. Take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.